The Valle d'Aosta is a mountain sport paradise in the heart of the Alps, with towering peaks to climb and magical castles to visit. We go in search of Aosta's origins, its craft skills and sacred places, and experience the Valle d'Aosta's taste for tradition. Man first conquered the summit of the Cervino in 1865. It was less than a century after the first explorations of Europe's great peaks. Jean-Antoine Carrel and Jean-Baptiste Bic from Valle d'Aosta reached 4,478 meters, becoming the first to climb the Italian side of the Cresta del Leone. Carrel is regarded as a true mountaineering hero, and his successors have also gained great acclaim. Their trailblazing feats have given Cervino an even greater appeal. For the people of the Val d'Aosta, the Cervino is the symbol of the valley. We call it the Gran Becca, La Becca, the perfect mountain. This hut is dedicated to mountain guides. It used to be on the Cervino and was brought down to the church square in Val Tournanche. The plaques bear the names of the past's great pioneers. Their memory inspires the young with a love for the mountain and the courage to conquer it. Many families handed down the role of alpine guide through the generations, even before the creation of climbing clubs. Of course, there are many famous families who've been guides over the generations. And living at Val Tournanche, it's really just something normal and natural. My great-grandfather was a portrait painter, but he was one of the first to attempt the ascent of the Cervino in 1857, with Magnifica and another Carrel. Later on, my grandfather became a guide as well. He did it all his life, and he was the first to climb the summit of Furghe nel Cervino with Giuseppe Gaspar. My father, though, was Luigi Carrel, known as Il Carrellino because he was so small. But he was one of the greatest guides of his time and climbed the Cervino up 11 different routes. Its sporting opportunities have made Cervino a symbol of the d'Aosta Valley. Its slopes are the setting for international events like the Maxi Avalanche Cup, the freeride marathon. Only the second time it was held, as many as 350 athletes took part. The cyclists descend the trails from the 3,500-meter high plateau Rosa at high speeds. And that's just one example of the many events that enrich the calendar of Cervinia and its surrounding area. Links with local traditions remain strong in the farmsteads at its foot.
La cultura valdostana è sicuramente permeata.
The local culture is closely linked to farming cattle, which has long supported the region's people. It's clear this heritage has survived into recent times, creating deep respect for these animals, the products they supply, and their contribution to folk customs, of course, like the Battle of the Queens or other activities revolving around cattle farming in the Valle d'Aosta.
Gravitano intorno effettivamente all'allevamento valdostano.
The entire region is involved in farmhouse production of fontina, and for centuries local homes have been filled with the aroma of handmade cheese. Cheese production is based on a typical native breed, the Pezzata Valdostana. Only fresh milk from these cows goes into the famous fontina cheese, giving it a special taste of flowers and grass. It's even better when accompanied by Valdostana polenta.
Negli alpeggi, che sono ancora più di 150.
There are still over 150 summer pastures in our region, and this cheese is mainly produced from June to September. Some is jealously stored by its makers.
Degli stessi produttori.
For many families, the summer is a time to set aside everyday life and modernity and renew links with nature, making cheese with time-honored tools and methods. Many young people rediscover their roots here. For these families, the cow is queen, and this high esteem has inspired the Bataille des Reines, head-to-head bouts to decide the winner in each valley. The battle between the finalists is fought in October at Aosta. The footsteps of the people of Antagnon have a special sound. Here, the young and old, men and women, have always worn clogs, the typical wooden footwear of the Val d'Ayas. It's said that as early as the year 1000, Aosta's patron saint Sant'Orso gave a pair to the poor at the onset of winter. This sturdy footwear can overcome any terrain, and they're also worn with thick woolen socks in the coldest weather. The success of the clogmaker's skills has spread beyond the local area. In the early 1900s, there were as many as 250 craftsmen. Today, this ancient profession is still followed. The techniques are learnt from family members or at courses held by the regional clogmaking college. With the help of the teacher's experience and advice, the new craftspeople learn to shape the two single pieces of willow or pine. The most expert makers ensure that each clog fits its owner perfectly. But for the apprentices, the first step is the use of the travela, a screw-tipped gimlet that's turned in the wood to shape the inside of the clog. After making the heel and toe, the clog is finished using a special double-bladed knife. The gleaming white glaciers of Monte Rosa have created the deep side valleys of Dora Baltea, like Gressoney and Dayas. Monte Rosa owes its name to the word ruez, which means glacier in the ancient local dialect. The Lys Glacier, covering 11 square kilometers, is Italy's fourth largest by area. Its year-round snows form part of the route for the Mezzalama Trophy. This historic alpine ski competition links the Cervino to the Rosa across walls of ice dominated by peaks over 4,000 meters high. On the summit of the Balmenhorn, we seem almost to be touching the sky. The great statue of Christ of the Peaks was erected here in 1955 to protect the people of the mountain. Christ is celebrated by onlookers too, climbing over 4,000 meters. At the Mezzalama Trophy, they limit themselves to watching the athletes' endeavors as they cross the starting line at Cervinia in early dawn. 45 kilometers roped together, climbing more than 3,000 meters, and then the arrival at Gressoney-la Trinité. The houses of Gressoney-Saint-Jean nestle at the foot of Monte Rosa. Tourism has flourished here since the early 1900s, when Queen Margherita would spend time in the quiet of the woods around Castel Savoia. Val di Gressoney is also known as the Valley of the Valser. The Valser are an ancient German-speaking folk who emigrated here from Switzerland sometime around the 13th century. Their culture is still vibrant, from houses to garments, crafts and music. For the younger generation, wearing folk costume means keeping alive their close links to the past. For local festivals, the women wear blouses decorated with white lace and gold filigree bonnets. "800 years ago, the Valser arrived here in search of new land to cultivate. These large farming families crossed the Alps along mule trains and steep paths. They settled in inaccessible, often unpopulated areas, forming isolated communities. During the winter, the women make soka by hand, traditional footwear that can also be worn outside. Nowadays, they use elegant fabrics, but at one time, they were patched together from bits of old coats. In recent years, the Valser have once again begun craft production of their typical wooden, ceramic and fabric dolls, adorned with handmade lace. Their spoken language also harks back to much older times. It's called Tich in Gressoney and Turciu at Isin. The region has recognized that the Valser embody a source of cultural riches to be respected and preserved. The culture of the Valle d'Aosta is also expressed through its architecture. Bard Castle has reopened its gates after a thorough restoration project. It was built in the 12th century, like many of the region's castles.
In Valle d'Aosta abbiamo circa un centinaio.
In Valle d'Aosta, we have around 100 towers and castles. Many towers are now in ruins, but about 10 castles are now open to the public as museums. From the point of view of military architecture, we can talk of three kinds: the primitive castle, the single keep, and the transformation into a manor house.
La sua trasformazione in dimora signorile. L'evoluzione
A
finale.
perfect example of the final evolution leading to the demilitarization of the castle and its transformation into a dwelling can be seen in Isogne Castle.
In cui le logge, le pitture.
Here, the balconies, the paintings, the market scenes, and the extraordinary symbolic pomegranate fountain, this symbology, this evocation of eternal youth, recall an atmosphere of ease, of a period untroubled by war, conflict, and the need for a ferocious defense of its borders.
Per la difesa dei confini.
The paintings in the castle of Isogne don't depict knights and battles. In fact, its walls relate everyday life. In the 15th and 16th centuries, the portico lunettes were decorated with frescoes showing workshop scenes. These paintings were really a kind of advertising, designed to show visitors how wealthy the estate was, thanks to the benevolent rule of the Chalin family. The barrels are full and plentiful, and on the table there are cheeses that look identical to modern Fontina. The Chalins symbolize feudal life in the Valle d'Aosta, and they have inspired a great deal of the region's history. In times of economic well-being, Giorgio di Chalin was a patron of local artists and encouraged cultural growth in the area. The castle of Isogne is like a book with pages of stone. Castle dwellers and visitors would carve words and phrases on the painted walls. The family crest of a lion and griffon dominates the baronial hall. The rule of the Chalons resembled that of the Sforza family in Milan or the Estes in Ferrara. Alongside the bedchambers with their frescoes and coffered ceilings, some of the castle's rooms were given over to worship. The frescoed walls of the oratory of Isogne depict Christ's crucifixion. Here we can see the only portrait of Giorgio di Chalon on his knees in prayer. A little over 100 years ago, the chapel on the floor below once again became the home of its original altarpiece. All traces of this work had been lost until the 1900s, when the castle's new owner bought it from a local antiques dealer for a very high price. There's a large hearth in the kitchen wall and 2 ovens. The neighboring room hosts a collection of ceramic pieces. The artist Vittorio Avendo, a 19th century owner of the castle, had made them, copying those used by the Chalons 4 centuries previously. The Alpine Riviera, that was the name given to Saint-Vincent when it was the haunt of 19th century aristocrats and the wealthy middle classes. This jewel of high society tourism has never lost its sparkle, drawing increasing numbers of holidaymakers from Italy and beyond the Alps. Its main attractions was its thermal waters, at least until the casino was opened.
Casino della Valle di Saint-Vincent in Valle d'Aosta.
The Valle di Saint-Vincent Casino in Valle d'Aosta was opened on the 29th of April 1947 at 9 p.m. The fateful words, "Monsieur, faites vos jeux," was then uttered, and 9 was the first winning number. Since then, the casino has become one of Europe's largest. Every year, it welcomes 800,000 visitors who challenge the odds at one of over 90 tables.
Al Casino della Valle troviamo la
The Casino de la Valle offers traditional French roulette and English roulette, which we call Faille roulette. We also have chemin de fer, 30-40, Saint-Vincent poker and Teresina poker. And then there's American roulette, blackjack, craps, punto banco and many slot machines.
e oltre a tantissime slot machine.
Ranieri. €8.600.
Not far from the tables of Saint-Vincent, the castle of Ussel dominates the houses of Châtillon from its rocky spur. This fortress too was built on the wishes of the Chalon family. 5 centuries later, another castle rose near Châtillon. This luxurious residence bears the name of its first owner, Baron Gamba.
Ai castelli primitivi appartengono, per esempio, il castello.
The primitive castles include, for example, Gren Castle near Brusson, or Montjovet Castle, Clee Castle, belonging to the lords of the Porta di Sant'Orso, who moved to the town of Saint-Denis, and the castle then took this name.
Principalmente di una struttura composta da un donjon centrale.
It's mainly a structure comprising a central keep, a chapel, and a large surrounding wall, enclosing all its land.
Alla metà più o meno del XIV
In the middle, more or less, of the 14th century, we see great developments in castle architecture, and we find examples that transform and extend the primitive castle model, with the building of additional sections and new walkways around the castle interior.
nuovi percorsi all'interno del castello. È emblematico il castello di Fenice, con un percorso
Fenice Castle is a typical example, with labyrinthine passages, a sort of initiation course from the entry door, through the 2 concentric walls, across a courtyard, and up a stairway, with a symbolic meaning of ascending to knowledge, towards the castle's most intimate chamber and the chapel with frescoes painted in 1414 by the Torinese artist Giacomo Iacquerio, creating a cultural atmosphere we can describe as international Gothic.
Possiamo definire come gotico internazionale.
In 2002, the images of saints on the frescoes of Fenice were restored to their original appearance. The 14th century crucifix has also been moved back to the chapel. It reflects a more transalpine Gothic taste, with Christ's physical agony clearly expressed.
Luigi balla bem cu.
Va bien, se voi sai.
A local saying warns the people here that he who drinks alone will choke. Sharing wine and food and drinking with others are deeply rooted in regional culture and have long been associated with the grolla. It's the symbol of the valley.
Santé.
Niente facile.
A symbol that's very dear to the local people. For them, drinking in company from a single vessel and chatting in dialect recall ancient traditions. Its origins lie in the legend of the Grail, drinking in a circle with friends. It was to show loyalty within a group. The importance of the grolla was to drink à la ronde, holding it in a special way.
Mais Moïse il savait bien qu'elle n'était pas du vin. Il a pas papa, il a ça, il a pas, il a ça, il a pas ça tout, sans avoir goût.
The local tradition of drinking together à la ronde, or in a circle, is also expressed through the cup of friendship. In the Middle Ages, the Via Francigena linked northern Europe to Rome and the Mediterranean. Its route also passed through the Valley of San Bartolomé, since 2003 the site of a cutting-edge technological project. The skies above are Italy's clearest, with over 250 cloudless nights a year and no atmospheric or light pollution. The lenses of the San Bartolomé Observatory point towards an immense space, ready for exploration.
Io credo che abbiamo tutti una grande curiosità di conoscere.
I think we're all incredibly curious about the future. This can express itself in a sort of simplistic way through horoscopes or fortune telling, but there's a more logical way, more suited to an age of a knowledge economy like ours, and that's exploring the environment, gaining a clearer understanding of how everything around us works, not just on the Earth, but also beyond, around our planet.
Ma anche più in là, attorno al nostro pianeta.
The observatory instruments can be used by all during educational meetings and other events. Every September, hundreds of skywatchers join the Star Party, combing the darkness above.
E poi c'è un'altra curiosità fondamentale che
And then there's real curiosity as to whether we're alone in this great universe or if there's life on nearby or faraway planets. And the exploration of Mars, that's happening now with robots and satellites that have sent back incredible photos of the surface of Mars and have shown us that there used to be water. There's still water there, one of the basic constituents of life. And so this observation gives us another reading about our desire to see the future, to see stars or other planets, other worlds different from the Earth, but near us in some way, by projecting an image of how our planet or our lives may evolve. And so the exploration of the universe is, in the final analysis, an exploration of ourselves, of our environment, and ultimately of our destiny.
Del nostro ambiente, del nostro destino.
The view from a soaring hot air balloon shows that Aosta grew up in the exact center of the valley. Piazza Chanou is the starting point for the Mont Blanc Ballooning Club. It all began in 1984, shaped by the imagination of Nello Charbonnier. The Italian ballooning champion realized his dream of flying beneath a balloon filled with hot air. Thanks to Charbonnier's passion, anyone can now fly above the mountains and city. A bird's-eye view shows the Roman urban layout. In ancient times, Aosta was a crossroads on the route across the Alps. Even the city's name has Latin roots.
Augusta Pretoria, l'attuale Aosta.
Augusta Pretoria, today's Aosta, lies on the alluvial plain of the valley bottom, at the confluence of the river Boutier, the ancient course of the Autejus, and the Dora Baltea. The city was founded in 25 BC and boasts a defensive wall with 4 gates, built with the permission of the Emperor Augustus.
Permesso dall'imperatore Augusto.
With ancient origins and a modern face, Aosta's treasure chest of art and traditions awaits new visitors. But that's another story.